Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of Game Testing Unlimited. My name is Wilfred. So this is Titan Quest 2 again in early access, and I've been covering this game as and when I've got some major milestones or as and when there are some major updates. I'd like to continue to the next chapter or new mastery combination and all, then I'll produce some contents for you. Now I've done quite a number of videos previously. I've done a Tempest, which is a Storm and Warfare combination as my first character. It's pretty cool. Ice Shard and Blizzard was fun until when they nerfed the fun of the Ice Shard, which I think is still kind of fun. I haven't really continued that journey as yet. And I've played the Rook plus the Fire, which is I believe is the Ash Stalker. I don't really get it. I mean, it's just too much energy consumption. I think looking back after my third character, I can confirm that the Rook is a little bit of outliner. I think it consumes a lot of energy to do not really a lot as well, so that tends to be a lot of kiting, a lot of downtime that you just run out of energy, and I can't do much but to kite around or just do some basic power. And that brings me the third character, which is Warfare and Earth that combine into a Battlemage. So it sounds very cool. I always been wanted to play a Battlemage, whichever kind of like ARPG it is. So in this video, as you see, I'm doing a little bit of like a boss kind of fight. Also demonstrate a little bit of the fluidity of the Whirlwind build that I have got, and I think by far it is one of the most fun things I've played. Same as the Ice Shard and Blizzard Tempest as well, my first character. So but this one is a lot more stronger, and I think that contribute to a couple of things. First thing first is that I've got much better weapon thanks to my previous two character. I've collected some really cool one. I think it's very easy to get that epic sword, at least two of them if you play two characters, and you can dual wield them as well. So I would say if I were to start a journey with this game, like any one of you, I will start with a caster, and then after that I'll probably pick up a melee to just gift the melee the epic sword, and that would make the character a lot stronger as well. I think part of it is due to a better gear, but part of it is also I can see that the design of the Warfare is pretty good from an offensive perspective. The first character I also have Warfare mastery, but mainly that is to do with more defensive buff, defensive stats, like health regen and so on, to make my my character Tempest a little bit stronger, more durable. But for this Battlemage, Warfare is my primary focus, and wow, my goodness, it's really, to me it's very, very strong, and I can talk a little bit about the design in a fair bit. But before I get there, I also like to kind of like give a little bit more observation, because that's what the whole game testing is for. Play different classes, play different combination of mastery to give you a sense of what to expect. And I think the boss design is actually pretty good, in par with many of the modern ARPG these days. For example, if you look at Pan, which is one of the kind of like lesser gods fights, it was pretty brutal for my Whirlwind Warfare Earth Battlemage. And mainly because the boss does something very strong for the melee range attack, and it caught me by surprise a little bit, because when you play range you don't really get that kind of attack, and you tend to just kite around a little bit, then you avoid some of this very major kind of melee range kind of thing. But I found that the some of the boss fight can be quite challenging for the melee character, and but they also, some of the mechanic make it easier, like Pan does a very large kind of like a circular by sector kind of a rotation, clockwise or anti-clockwise rotation towards the character. So if your range, of course, is a little bit crazy, because you need to get closer to the boss and try to walk around him to avoid those big damage. While for melee Whirlwind, I just spin around him, so it's a lot easier to do that. And also PAM is one that I think DPS is quite important, so I I had like 3 tries for my Battlemage, and in the end I changed my dual epic item and used one of the very strong, very high DPS two-hander, and managed to take down Pan, as you see here. Now, and I think I'm still trying to get a sense of what does two-hand versus dual-wield means. Now, obviously, when you dual-wield weapons, the DPS does get a little bit higher because you are dual-wielding. But I think two-hand is still the hardest hitting one. I suspect it's a little bit more like Grim Dawn or other games whereby if you dual-wield, you can collect a lot more affixes on your two weapons. Like for example, I stacked the for the epic gear, I stacked the resistance as well as crit hit rating and so on, so that make more exciting. But the two-hander, there's only a fixed amount of number of prefixes, just like other ARPGs. I think interested to know how the whole thing pans out. Is it better to be dual wield, or is it better to have more hard hitting kind of like single kind of item? So that's one. Now going back to the character itself, as you see here, this character is a very much melee character, and the main damage dealer, it would be the Whirlwind. As you see here, it's not the highest DPS, but it's one that sustains across multiple kind of enemies, so it's very nice. You can spin around it, and I've got enough modifier to make it kind of hit harder, or area radius increase. And also something called vitality damage is really about lifesteal. So as I do Whirlwind, I decrease the resistance of vitality damage, and I kind of like deal more vitality. 10% of vitality damage will come back to me as a lifesteal, I believe. So that's a nice setup. And I've also got leap as well. Initially I wasn't that into leap because I can dodge. What's the point of leaping? It's just some fancy stuff. But then I realized that it does have some really interesting debuff, and it's good damage as well. You can kind of like pick modifiers such a way that it transforms that into a little bit more like area damage, and it has the staggering chance and increase the damage by 10% here, 10% there, and add up together. It's quite cool, and I like it so much that I actually put two charges to it, so it can leap 2 times within the 12 seconds. So there about every 6 seconds you can leap into the enemy and do some staggering or kind of like area damage. I think that's pretty cool. Next one, I have Storm as well, and I think I like this design a lot because Storm has a cooldown, 8-second cooldown, and some people don't like cooldown power. I think in RPG cooldown has a role to play. They become the layers, and which means that you can just spin around, and then with the modifier that I can use it during the channel skill, it won't break the channel skill, so I can still maintain the high the higher damage, or the so-called the area radius, higher damage, and while using the Storm as a filler to fill it up. So that's pretty cool, and you can do other things like rage and so on, the element chance as well. So I'm just experimenting with it, but I think Storm, not a very hard hitting, is only about 400 damage, and it doesn't really give a lot of damage. I mean, compared to 8-second, 400 damage is not really tremendous, but then it does shave off a fair bit because some of this trash mob will not last 8 seconds anyway, so the DPS is pretty good if you look at it that way. In between you travel, right? Then you have the Doom Horn, which is very kind of like basic for almost every, I think, any class that you mix with the warfare. It's good to pick up Doom Horn to give you more damage, kind of like debuff against the enemy. So that is something that I use, and again, vitality damage is always good for lifesteal or just get more health back and so on. Then I got the buff for battlefield awareness, mainly to again increase the vitality damage and increase lifesteal. So a lot of things that towards it. And by the way, my rings are also into lifesteal, so my character is in theory quite kind of like durable. The only downside sometimes is that when the big heat comes, then if it doesn't mitigate the damage, it just boom, get defeated. But sometimes it's just part of life. It's just part of experimenting. What doesn't, in this early access, I'm not playing hardcore as yet, so it's okay. Then the Earth side, I don't really pick up a lot, same as for my Rogue, which is the Ash Stalker. I pick up Flame Volley, and it does not, so I'm constantly spending energy anyway, so with that it charges up the something called Amplify, and with Amplify then I can use it to launch the Flame Volley automatically across my character. It's actually quite tiny. It's 194, it's not that tiny, but it's not as strong as my Warfare. Mainly because our gear is more towards the strike and the pierce kind of like damage, which is all physical, rather than spell damage or fire damage. And I find it really hard so far. Maybe I just don't have enough gear or other points yet to buff both the spell damage as well as the physical damage. I think hybrid wise, I still yet to see if it is interesting, which kind of bring me the last point I'd like to share is that as I'm playing more and more character, mixing all these masteries together, I don't necessarily feel that I don't necessarily feel that it synergizes too well. Like maybe just lack of unique gear, lack of some gear that I haven't got it yet. Maybe the game has it, design has it, but I haven't got it yet. That I see there are some synergies between the two mastery. That's one that I'm still trying to find out more about it. And also I find that it's very hard to gear if I have my focus towards, my emphasis towards spell and or physical. It's very difficult for me to actually find gear and mix the two together, so as to speak. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure things out. Maybe later on I'll see some gear that will double buff all this hybrid damage as we go. But I think there's always some sort of trade-off, to be honest. So I don't know. Yet to see. Just hold my criticism until I kind of like discover more and see more uniqueness, unique gear and so on. And I think maybe another thing to think about is that perhaps is they are still trying to so-called expand this whole mastery into other new mastery where maybe other mixes will be more interesting, right? So if you look at, say, Warfare, that it is mainly physical, which is very much either strike and or pierce, depending on whether you do a melee or range like bow or whatever. Then if you go to Earth, it is really about the fire damage. I would say a lot of fire damage in Earth. If you go for the Storm, it is either lightning or ice. If you go for Rogue, it's either physical or poison. So far it kind of like I think these are the four fundamental basic mastery. And maybe the new mastery would have some interesting mechanism to say, okay, maybe another one is also to do with something else. But I suspect, because there's something called spirit damage, I suspect the next one could be more into spirit damage. So we are back to the square one, whereby every mastery is one foundation, kind of like primary damage output. But I mean, there's some synergy across certain kind of like masteries. Don't get me wrong, that in the Earth or in the Warfare, there are some passive that buff both the fire as well as physical, but that's not what I meant. These are just passive. The passive could have been like Path of Exile, the notes there, you can pick any passive you like, or even Diablo 4, whereby you can just pick any passive to be along your character. But I'm really talking about the active skill and how to mix them together. So we'll see. I'm excited to know more about it. So that is the end of my journey with this particular character. And since it's my third character, things go a lot faster. I haven't skipped any side quests, so or majority, or say 99% of majority of the side quests I've completed. So it is there about 9 hours. So instead of 14 plus hours, become 9 hours. So 5 hours is to do with all the reading, all the text, listening to all the audios, as well as watching all the cutscene and exploring the area, not once but twice or 3 times. But now once I get to know the map, because the maps are static, they're not procedurally generated, so it is fixed. Getting through the content is just going through the same thing. So I would imagine, for those of you who are like really quick in doing this all game, or just multiple characters like I do, you probably just need around 8 hours to complete the Act 1, 8 or 9 hours there about it, if you do it fast. But yeah, I mean, fun time so far, and I'm looking forward to the next experiment. Do feel free to give me some ideas as well. Alright, see you next time. Goodbye.